Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here today. And I am jacked up to have a special guest today. She is the CEO and founder of Next Generation IRA, Next Generation Trust Company. She's a rock star with a background in real estate medical, but in her third career, in her words, she has a passion for helping other real estate investors out there take advantage of the different tax benefits, savings benefits of having self-directed IRA accounts. And who am I talking about? We are talking about the rock star Jaime Raskulinecz to join us under today. Yeah, I know you gotta love. I got the name right. Pronounce it. That's the one. I took one class in college in name pronunciation at 8 a.m. my first semester, and that's probably what I got out of it was how to pronounce names properly. So, what is going on, Jaime? We're glad to have you here on the Note Closer Show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Scott. Nice job on the name, by the way. You get an A+ because not everybody does that on the first shot. I love it.
How bad do they butcher it? Pretty bad.
Oh my goodness. Between my first name and my last name, both of them get mispronounced very often. And the misspellings, if I even had a penny for each time that both of them were misspelled, I would be sitting on a beach somewhere with a drink retired. So
There you go. There you go. So I won't call you Jaime throughout it because I imagine you get
yes,
that a lot.
please don't. Yep.
So, Jaime, you are the head honcho, the chief bottle washer out there. Let's first and foremost, we haven't had anybody on talk about self-directed IRAs in quite some time. How important is having a self-directed IRA, self-directed accounts important now, so more than it's ever been before in 2024?
Oh my goodness. How much time do we have? So I think self-directed IRAs have always been a very important tool in your arsenal to save for retirement. And I would say that the biggest reason is because you get to choose your investments, you get to choose the things that you are most proficient in and that you know the most about. So that leads to better control. That means, and so of course, our tagline, control your future today, right? Much more control because if you're already proficient in real estate investing or any other asset type, and you're making money there with, non-retirement money, why wouldn't you want to take your retirement money and, juice that return like you're doing outside of it? So that's really the biggest reason. The other thing I just want to mention real quickly here is there are traditional custodians that say we offer self-directed IRAs. And I want to tell you, they do not. What they mean by self-directed IRAs is you can invest in anything we sell. And all of that stuff is publicly traded. And you see what's happening with the stock market now, right? Over the last, I don't know, several months, it's been on a tear, right? It's increasing. The percentage of return is really great, but there's certain sectors that are already starting to drop. And so, I'm not saying don't invest in the stock market if you understand it and you want to be there. You should have some money there, right? But in order to hedge what's probably coming with stock market volatility, you should have something else that doesn't correlate to it.
Exactly. We all know that you don't really control your investing when you're investing in the stock market. You're hoping it goes up. You hoping it doesn't go down. You hope a whisper or a Twitter feed doesn't change the stock price, or that Bitcoin gets bought up and then sold off. It's just there's a lot more, should we say, insider trading taking place in the stock market. And I think I heard somebody tell me the other day, yeah, the stock market might be looking good, but it's really only like 4 or 5 companies that are boosting the S&P 500 right now. There's a lot of red and a lot of blood in Wall Street, different companies struggling.
Yeah, that's right. And you're exactly right. Look at all the meme stocks that have been out there. And somebody talks about them, the price goes up exponentially, and the person that originally spoke about that stock is the one that makes all the cash. And then everybody else that has invested in it is stuck holding the bag when they sell after the prices go up. So, that's much more easily manipulated than a local real estate market. I don't know how you would manipulate a local real estate market. And, I have a financial advisor like most people do. he talks to me about the stock market and what he's doing. And while I'm having the call with him, I understand exactly what he's saying. And the minute I hang up, I go, yeah, I didn't retain any of that. but being a former real estate investor, that's a market that I understand, right? So I understand other things better than I understand the stock market. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I'm there too.
Exactly. As an ex-financial advisor who has been having blindfold removed from my eyes, banks, financial institutions, yeah, we love them, but a lot of them set people up with, I don't want to say it's brainwashing, but they do kind of fix the way that you're supposed to look. Oh, 0 to 4% is safe, 4 to 8% return is investing. Anything over 12 is just straight up like risk, complete risk involved. And then they get into kind of confusing you. Oh, this is what this is in. This is the PE ratio. This is all this other aspects of it. It's literally like reading Greek in a lot of cases if you don't know what to do. So let's dive into this, because a lot of people have like a 401k retirement plan and they leave that job and they want to put it into something. And as we all know, people, a lot of people dream about being a real estate investor. That's why those shows do so well out there. What's really the first step that people can do to take control of their retirement, or take control of their retirement accounts, to start making that way across in that journey from going to as an employee to either a part-time or full-time investor, and really utilizing the retirement funds more efficiently?
Well, I always tell people the first thing is, when you leave a previous employer, if you have a financial advisor, talk to them, because it almost always makes no sense to keep your money in the previous employer's retirement plan. The fees are high. You're limited to the kind of investments that you can make through them. So that also means the returns are usually somewhat limited. So always kind of get that out of there and put it in an IRA if you can. If you have smaller amounts of money, we've seen people do, partner with others to get into a real estate deal. We've seen people get into some note investing, because sometimes you don't need a lot of money to do that.
Right.
We've seen people provide quote unquote personal loans to other people. So new investors that maybe are just making their contributions, that don't have previous employer money, we've seen them lend money to people that they're familiar with, right?
Mm-hmm.
To consolidate credit card debt. And I don't know, right these days, what is credit card debt? Is it 30% now is the average?
Yeah, something like that, 29, 32%, something like that. Somebody was talking about the other day. I'm like, oh, how is that legal? That's literally like Uncle Guido down with a baseball bat charging the VIG every day. You know what I mean?
Legal loan sharking is really what that is, right?
That's exactly a good point. Yeah.
So if they're paying 30% and they've got, let's say, 25,000 in credit card debt, you have some money, a little bit of money in your IRA, say 25,000, and you want to make more of a return. Well, probably one of the better interest rates you can get right now is a bit over 5% in a treasury fund.
Mm-hmm.
If you lend them money, even if you charge them 15%, you're really jacking up your return substantially. They're decreasing their interest rate by half. And you still have recourse to collect if for some reason they don't pay off on that. So your loan documents can say, I can attach, a car, whatever it is.
Right.
So that's a great way to start, say, non-real estate. But for real estate, we still are involved in the National Real Estate Investors Association. And they have local chapters everywhere. And I frequently tell people with not a lot of experience, or with friends who are not in that field and can't mentor them, real estate investor groups are a great place to learn. You can learn at your own pace. Real estate investors are probably the biggest group of people that are so willing to help you and guide you and give you information, because, look, there's enough real estate to buy and enough investing for everybody. So it doesn't hurt them to bring you along. So that should really be your first stop. And you're probably going to find a lot of deals within your real estate investor group too, because people are looking to renovate a property and maybe they don't want to go to a bank, or maybe they can't go to a bank. People are looking for private money for mortgages. So lots of stuff you can do, and that should be your first stop.
Yeah, we find that roughly from doing a lot of research that we find that folks that have an IRA of some sort usually have about like 2/3 of the people that have an IRA have like 150K or more sitting in it, and it may be producing money, might be producing decent return. It may not be producing anything. A lot of folks will move money, out of their 401K into a traditional IRA with Fidelity. It's getting okay work, but to be able to take advantage and put it into a truly self-directed IRA with a company like Next Generation, you can kind of control what kind of yield you want to get. If you want to get a double-digit yield, which a lot of people like, private lending, note investing, fix and flipping, mezzanine, there's a whole variety of strategies that you can put to work with your retirement account that people can't do with their 401K at Fidelity or Schwab. All right. Let's talk about some of the laws or the rules behind it that people can't do. I mean, we know that they can't go out and fix the property up and get personal use out of like a rental property, right, Jamie? You want to explain that a little bit?
Yep. So what I will say is that the IRS disallows only two investments. You are not allowed to invest in life insurance or collectibles. Those are the two things that the IRS says are off limits. And I want you to know, in my 20 years of business, I'm a wine collector and a big wino, and I've been trying to find ways to put wine in my IRA for 20 years. You can't do it. So, so the other thing is, real estate investors are some of the most creative people on the planet, but they're also the ones that try to figure out a way to circumvent the rules. Don't do that. So there's so many things you can do legitimately. So you can buy real estate. Absolutely. It's got to be arm's length. It's got to be for rental only. Family members or disqualified people can't live in that property or use it or lease it if it's a commercial property. And disqualified people are yourself, your spouse, your ascendants, and your descendants.
So that's the family tree Macarena, above, sideways, and below.
Well, sideways is kind of okay. Believe it or not, you can invest with your siblings, or your siblings can do it. It has more to do with estate taxes, really, to try to get away with that, than it has to do with anything else. But if you invest with your siblings, if you really like your sibling, you can't give them preferred terms or anything like that. And if you dislike your siblings, you can't give them onerous terms either. So either way is not good.
We can't lend money, but you could partner. Their IRA could partner with your IRA to go in a deal, though. That's completely legal. It's just like, hey, I can't give you a 12% return here. Joseph, right. It's a different, that's investing or lending money is different, or them getting use out of a property of some sort. That's right. That's a big thing. A lot of people will roll money into it because they get excited about self-directed IRAs. And without you giving numbers, what do you think percentage-wise is people that have money sitting in an IRA not making anything? They haven't pulled the trigger on a deal yet. Do you have any idea what you see?
In a self-directed IRA?
Or your total assets under management. If you think you've got whatever you have under management, how much of that's actually out in a deal, lending, property, versus just sitting on the sidelines idle waiting for somebody to do something with it?
So I will tell you that it's probably less than 10% of our total assets under custody that's sitting idle.
Wow, that's good.
It's increasing a little bit, and I'll tell you why. People are now looking at self-directed IRAs a little bit more than they've done over the past year, because in the past year, with the rapid increase by the Fed in interest rates, almost everybody, even people who are interested in real estate or self-directed IRAs, figured, hey, I can get 5.5% by doing nothing.
Right.
And taking no risk. So let's see what happens. But now interest rates or treasury rates are decreasing even before the Fed does anything, because in the last several months, people are anticipating it, right? So even mortgage rates are dropping a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got clients now that are just sitting on the edge of their seat waiting to jump because they're thinking probably as soon as the Fed decreases rates the first time, we're going to have better interest rates, number one. And even though the Fed is planning on decreasing rates this month, we just don't know if it's going to be 25 or 50 basis points, but it's pretty much a given that they're going to do it this month. There's still a lot of commercial real estate and residential real estate that's in distress.
Mm-hmm.
So some of those owners want to get out and they're waiting for the right time or they're decreasing prices. So we have a lot of clients that are just waiting to jump. So we see cash increasing a little bit now because either they're transferring in, we have new clients coming in, putting in prior employer 401k money. So it's starting to increase a bit. But our clients generally are pretty active, Scott. They don't.
That's good.
They don't leave a lot of money on the sidelines doing nothing.
Well, that's good because I've had conversations with other companies. They were like 30, 40% of the assets under management sitting on the sidelines. And that always just blew my mind. I mean, from being around in 20 years as an investor and speaking, there's really only about 5% of people that take action anyway on something in a lot of cases, which is unfortunate. But a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna start an account. What are you gonna do? No, I'm just gonna keep the money sitting there. It's sitting there. And I'm like, you gotta do something with it. It's gonna lose money if you don't do something, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. There are some people that'll pull the trigger pretty fast to open the account and fund it, and then they sort of drop off the face of the earth and don't do anything. And I don't know if it's inertia or if it's the fear of too many choices and what am I going to do? I don't know exactly what it is, but there's something holding a certain percentage of those folks back.
Paralysis analysis is what it comes down to in a lot of cases. Or,
so,
you know, we had a conversation. I was doing a conversation with a couple folks. I was asking them, I said, well, it's just, you know, I'm just, it's that pulling the trigger, you know, ready, aim, fire, ready, aim. I'm ready to aim, ready to aim. It's that pulling the trigger. It scares me. And that's, you know, you'll learn more from doing your first deal and going from there. So I'd be willing to bet that it's probably more first-time investors that struggle with the pulling the trigger and either funding a deal or buying a deal.
Well, that's absolutely so. The first-time investors are a little more leery about actually opening the account too. They're really looking to accumulate as much data as they can before they open the account. And that, I think, just perpetuates itself. Once they open the account, they're doing the same thing with the deals. And, you know, suppose I make a mistake. Well, you know, you obviously don't want to make a huge mistake. This is your retirement money, but look for people who understand the market and who understand how to do the due diligence so they can help you do it, make an informed decision. But ready, fire, aim might be a better way to do that.
Exactly. Well, that's why you align yourselves with a team. You network with other investors. That's why your local real estate club is so valuable in aligning people and getting a coach. They'll guide you along that path to avoid those big potholes. Yeah. One thing we haven't ever talked about on the show, but we have talked about a lot of distressed real estate. There's so much distressed commercial real estate out there. There's a lot of banks that have bad paper, or there's a lot of syndications that have really taken hit because of what's happened with interest rates going through the roof and cap rates and depreciation in assets and stuff like that in cases out there. If somebody has used their IRA account and invested in a syndication of some sort, okay, they come in as a equity or in their junior lien position technically behind the bank financing, and that deal goes south. What's the recourse for an investor on a deal like that? Do they just have to eat it? I mean, obviously they could sue, go after the LLC in some cases, but there may not be anything there because the asset is, in a single. Can they write it off their taxes? Are there things to do to help them recover any of that? What do you see on your guys' end or
you mean
counsel?
It's completely dead now?
Yeah, but it's been foreclosed out. Yeah, the bank foreclosed on the first lien, and there was nothing left after the credit bid at the auction.
I'm sorry to say there's not a whole lot you can do about that, but I will say that in this creative market, if you can identify your asset struggling, there is a secondary market these days to sell your interest in syndications and private equity.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a good thing to look into if you have any clue whatsoever that something might be happening with your deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're not going to get dollar for dollar on it in a lot of cases, but getting something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
That's
In a
right.
lot of cases, or you're
There is no writing this off. Sorry.
no, yeah,
in
it's just a
IRA.
loss.
Yeah.
It's your IRA, exactly. But people have experienced losses in their IRA when the company, like, I'll give you a great example. My ex-father-in-law was Conoco Phillips. He was in his company 401k. He was like, "Oh, I got $4 million in my retirement account because the stock keeps going up by 33% year over year." I'm like, "You need to pull some of that out and put it into something else. You got to diversify." Did he listen to me? Nope. Lost half of it a few years back when the stock price dropped in half. And I was like, should have learned. But I think we all like that. Let's let it ride.
Exactly right. Well, those are the same people, I guess, that they probably wouldn't do that in a casino, right? But they figure, this is my employer and it's really great. So, why not just leave it there?
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I'm not a financial advisor and we're not allowed to give any advice to our clients. But my goodness, when friends ask me that question, if they've got 100% company stock, time to diversify.
Yeah, exactly. WorldCom.
I sort of forgot about them. Yeah.
Yeah. The world's littered with a lot of those companies that were doing stuff like that. Now, how much money can people sock away into self-directed IRA accounts? I know it's different based on income and stuff like that, but why don't we start off with kind of the base amount so people can start, well, I can start putting some money away to, you don't have to have all your money rolled in, but you can start putting money away, especially if you got younger kids or you're younger, starting off a little bit can go a long way towards your future endeavors and future retirement, right?
Hey, Scott, I'm so glad I thought ahead. I actually printed out the contribution limits because I'm getting too old to keep this in my head now. So, but
they go up every year. Some go up every year, others stay the same. So it's good to know. Good to have a cheat sheet there for you.
So for 2023, was $6,500 a year, and if you were over 50, a catch-up contribution of $1,000. 2024 this year, 7,000, so went up a little bit. Also, catch-up contribution of 1,000 if you're over 50.
So is that into a Roth or a traditional IRA?
Roth has the same contribution limits, but there's exclusions based on your income, and it's I have the chart, but it's confusing. But
sure,
if you go to the IRS website, it'll tell you, but I'll tell you after what amount is zero. I will tell you.
It's like right around, was it like 125, 130, something like that, if you're an individual somewhere in that neck of the woods?
Yeah, it's like 130, over 138.
Okay.
But it's also in between zero and that, there's varying levels of contributions. So, and look, your kids, the IRS takes a look at this. You can absolutely contribute to a Roth IRA for your kids, but they have to have income in order for you to do that. But I have seen people who have real estate businesses who use their kids potentially in flyers. They take photos of them, like, in flyers.
Marketing, strike a poke.
Exactly. So if you pay them, whatever the going rate might be for stock photos or models or something like that, or there's plenty of other things that you can do. You can start contributing early for a Roth IRA as long as you can prove that your kid had income to be able to support that. And then don't forget, again, previous employer 401ks, no limits on rollovers or, direct rollovers. So, if you've been able to amass a substantial amount of money in those accounts, you can roll it over at any time when you have separated from employment.
And that's the thing is, you can also, was there educational ESAs? What is those? Are 2,000 a year, right?
Yep. ESAs are 2,000 a year, and HSAs this year is 4,150.
And an HSA is a health savings account. There's a little bit of requirements to those, right, Jamie, for an HSA?
Yeah, you have to have a high deductible health plan, and that was for individual. If it's family coverage, it's 8,300. And, in that instance, a lot of people don't realize that you can also self-direct health savings accounts and education savings accounts. So we have some clients that use HSAs much the same way that they use IRAs.
Mhm.
And so they don't typically take out reimbursement for medical expenses from the HSA, but they make the maximum contributions every year. And they use that for investing so that they can jack up the returns on that too. And then in retirement, look at how much money you've got tax-free, really, to pay for healthcare expenses or anything else. So another good strategy if you can afford it.
Now, what's the retirement age that people have to be to start taking withdrawals from their retirement accounts? Sorry. Is that 55 or 59 and a half or something like that?
59 and a half.
There we go. Okay.
My brain is going. Yeah, it's 59 and a half.
I just got cussed out silently online here. You would ask that question right now. But so let's say you start a Roth IRA, which is something everybody should start. A Roth IRA if you're starting off brand new, if you're not making the funds. What about those different plans for those that are like self-employed? They don't have a 401k. They do make more money, looking more. What are some different options for folks at those levels?
A SEP IRA is same rules as IRAs, and it's a lot simpler than a solo K or a 401k. But a SEP IRA this year, maximum contribution is $69,000, but it can't exceed 25% of your income. And a solo K, if you are self-employed with no common law employees and only partners and spouses, you're eligible for a solo K. And you can actually make elective deferrals up to 100% of your compensation. Don't know many people who do that, but it's allowable. And in 2024, 23,000 with a 7,500 catch-up contribution if you're over 50.
Wow.
And so those are a little bit more complicated to administer. They're a little more expensive to administer. But for a real estate investor who's got a lot of money to put there are some advantages, because if you leverage your real estate that you're holding in your solo K, there's no UBIT tax on what you're holding.
Now, for those that don't know what UBIT is, tell everybody what that famous 4-letter word represents.
Unrelated business income tax or debt financed income tax. So if you buy $100,000 property and you finance 75%, let's say 50, it's easier. You finance 50%. 50% of the income that comes in on that property, if done in a self-directed IRA, would be subject to that tax. And if you sell it and you're still holding the mortgage, but there's ways to get rid of that mortgage. But if you're still holding the mortgage, the sales proceeds, 50% would also be subject to that tax. It's a complicated calculation. You do need an accountant to help you do this. Please do not try this at home. It's one of those. You want to make sure you get it right. But the other thing about UBIT is there are some expenses that may be able to be deducted against that tax. And in general, in a self-directed IRA, that's not allowable. And in my 20 years of business, I have never had a single client tell me that being responsible for UBIT decreased their return in their IRA by so much that it wasn't worth it.
Right.
So I've never heard that before. So because, look, if it's rental, you're hoping you're going to get appreciation on the property if you're going to rent and hold. And that's usually pretty substantial if you know your market, right? And depending on how long you hold it. But then you're also making rental income. So, the income that you're getting and the appreciation that you're getting should well outweigh anything that you might be responsible for in UBIT.
Yeah, I've heard that whenever anybody's ever had to pay UBIT, it was usually a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing. It means it was a good year. You know what I mean?
Exactly right. Which is what my accountant tells me every year when I have to pay tax and I complain.
Yeah, exactly. How did you get into? We kind of skipped over this a little bit, but how did you get into starting next generation IRA? What's kind of the story behind that?
It's a little interesting of a story. So I'll try to give you the short version, but I'm not known to be short-winded. But
That's okay. That's okay.
All right. So I had a property management company, and I was becoming a little disillusioned with that business because it's very labor intensive, and it's a lot harder to scale that business for a whole host of reasons, but it's also hard to find good people to work in that business.
Yeah, toilet sins and trash outs are not for the faint of heart.
No. So I'd been looking for an additional source of income in addition to the property management company. And right around the same time, I looked at so many different things and nothing was really gelling for me. And right about the same time, I was looking to buy an investment property, and I thought I wanted to do it with an IRA. And I asked my financial advisor, who gave me all kinds of crap about it, right? Oh, I don't think you could do that. Yes, I know you could do it. Well, he's a big advisor on the Schwab platform. Well, my Schwab rep said, well, they would do it, and I said, no, you really, I don't want somebody that doesn't know how to do this, right?
Right.
So it was all around the same time. And I went to Arizona for a real estate conference, and I met this guy who worked in self-directed IRAs, and we got to talking. And as a matter of fact, one of the biggest reasons we got to talking is he was a wino just like me. So we were talking about wine this whole time. So I asked him about the business, and he told me about how it worked and how I could, use this for my own real estate investing within an IRA. And then he said to me, gee, that's really unfortunate that your financial advisor doesn't know about this. Do you think he might be interested in buying a license? Because we're going to license offices throughout the country, and I need somebody in the Northeast. And I said, well, I don't know if he would be or not, but the heck with him. I'm interested. So we started out as part of a national network 20 years ago, based just on that conversation. I thought this was the best business idea I've heard ever. And that's how it all started. So we were part of this national network for a couple of years. We were one of the first offices to go independent outside of the network. And 20 years later, here we are.
There you go. Very nice. Now, you call New Jersey home, right?
Yes, New Jersey.
So I got to ask, what's your favorite type of wine?
Yes. Oh,
yes. There you go. Perfect. There you go.
So I'm mostly a red wine drinker, but and I really am into California wines, but I like a lot of different areas. I think the wine I know the least amount about is Italian wines. They're just not my favorite thing. But now not now, it's past summer, but in the summer, I like nice white wines. I like rosés, and I like.
There you go.
I don't discriminate. I like all wine.
Are you a Napa lover or more a Sonoma Valley lover? I know.
If you make me pick, it's Napa, but there's a lot of good stuff in Sonoma also, and I haven't had too many wines from California that I might not like.
Exactly.
The mass-produced stuff is not my thing, but you give me a good winery and a good vintner that knows what they're doing, and they can make a good product. Love it.
Exactly. We enjoy a little bit of the wine. We actually did a mastermind a few years ago in Napa at took everybody out to Domaine Carneros for red wine and champagne, or not champagne, sparkling wine tasting for a day, which was a lot of fun.
I went to Domaine Carneros was probably the first winery that I visited the first time I went to California. And a little known fact, people probably know it now, but they also make a wonderful Pinot Noir. And back then, it was not marketed to the public. So you know this, or you don't know that?
I know this because that's my favorite Pinot Noir. Anytime I can find it, I buy it out. So like they're, literally a month ago, it's funny we're talking about this. I go to the liquor store just to look around here. I always like to walk it when we got to kill some time to kill. And I always say, what do you have? Domain cards? Oh, we got like 9 bottles left in all of Austin. So I'm like, I'll buy all 9. It's just so good, you know. So,
I understand. I've been known to do that. You go into a store and you see something at a price that's just not right.
Yeah.
And you go, is this really the price of this? Yes. How many do you have? Give me all of that.
But that's the thing, is that's a great aspect of it, because wine is made with a lot of care. You have a lot of similarities in IRA investing. You put money aside in your IRA each month, it matures, it grows, it gets a return. You don't have to have a huge amount to make some great music or add accentuate the big meal of investing for your retirement out there. So
what a great analogy, Scott. That's pretty good.
You know, had to use that before. Might have to use it again there for you for sure. But that's the great thing about people don't realize, and that's one of the big things I always like. One of the biggest things that people do. I was actually talking to investors this weekend. I was like, listen, if you haven't started a Roth IRA or self-directed Roth IRA, go do that. If you don't make less than 130 a year, go start that. You know, if you've got $6,000 to put in, that's technically $500 a month. Put that in. That's $125 a week. Put it in there. I mean, maybe you won't buy something immediately, but we've had deals that have been as little as like $5,000 for somebody to buy a small balance note that can get them a 12 or 14%. Actually, one of my students, Phil, just bought a performing note at an 18 yield after servicing for $6,500. You know, wow. It's not a knock it out of the park retire deal. It's a little bit into his retirement account each month at a great yield. And if the guy pays off, it's an even bigger yield in a few years. And you said something, you don't have to have a lot of money to buy real estate. You don't need millions of dollars to do it. There's a lot of ways to dive in with small balances and small amounts to get rock and rolling.
And starting with small balances eventually gives you larger balances to do bigger deals and bigger deals. But, that also start young enough, right? You want to start young enough to be able to build that up and be able to do bigger and bigger deals.
Yeah. And you can actually use your IRA account. Here's another thing is if you're have some money in a self-directed IRA account, you can use, especially in the note business, you can buy a partial. One of our friends, Tom Henderson up in Dallas, is famous for, I'll give you 10 months of payments for 12 months of payments,
Oh, well.
And a 1 year, it's 12 months of payments, about a 20% yield. If he's doing that, if you're doing it right, all in his self-directed IRA, I'll give you 10 months of payments for 12 months of payments. If you need a quick hit, there you go. After 12 months, the note reverts back to you. But my IRA just got a 15 to 20% yield for the year. It's hard to beat that.
That's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how difficult is it for somebody? Now, you're out of New Jersey, but you deal with clients all across the United States, obviously.
We have clients all over the world, as long as they have U.S. Wage income or they have U.S. retirement plans. We have clients all over the world with investments all over the world. It is such an easy process to open an account. We have several ways for people to contact us. Our website, which is nextgenerationtrust.com. If you go to that website, we have live chat on our website, and it's not AI, it's actually a person during business hours that will respond to you. Our telephone numbers are there. If you call our office, hold on to your hat. A live person actually answers the phone during business hours. And the people who answer our phones are very well trained and well credentialed, so they can actually answer questions for you without having to escalate it most of the time. Mm-hmm. And the process is so simple. We send you an application via email, secure email. We use Adobe Sign. Everything is marked for you to fill out, so you don't have to have any guesswork. All the boxes are highlighted that you have to fill out. You send it back to us. Your account is open within 24 to 48 hours because we have to do all that know your customer stuff and check background. And then as soon as that happens, somebody from our office reaches out to somebody from our business development, hands you off to our customer or client relations team, and they help you fund your account, whether it's a contribution, a transfer, a rollover. So they help you do all of that. It's a very, very easy process. And if somebody gets that and doesn't find the process easy, we're available to help you and walk you through the application. So we, especially for first-time investors, first-time account openers, we want to make sure that we make the process as easy for you as possible.
Mm-hmm. That's the beautiful thing of having somebody there to talk to, because we know that there are other companies, we won't name names, who aren't. It's hard to get somebody on the phone. It's hard to get somebody to ask questions, and that's not what you want to have. Is issues when you're trying to fund your first deal or do a rollover or get the ball rolling.
Right.
And then we know, and it's pretty easy to roll it over if you're not happy with your custodian. Hey, get on the horn to next generation there to get that process started, to have somebody that can talk to, that can hold your hand through the process. Now, you guys also, part of the things of investing is you're not actually verifying if an investment is a good deal. People still need to do their own due diligence, as long as it's not insurance or collectibles. You're double checking the paperwork, making sure that everything is there, whether it's a deed or a copy of the note or the assignments or all that good stuff. People still need to do on their due diligence the asset. You're there just to verify that the paperwork and collateral stuff is accurate, correct, right?
That's correct. And we try to also screen for prohibited transactions.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask a lot of questions depending on what the investment is or what the person tells us they want to invest in. Because one of the things we try to do is make sure that everybody maintains the tax advantage status of their account. So we want to be sure that you're not making any mistakes. So we tell people, speak to us early, speak to us often, ask a lot of questions before you do anything that you might be unsure of, because the penalties for doing a prohibited transaction, when I said to you that UBIT doesn't make a difference on your return, doing a prohibited transaction can wipe you out and then some. Yep. So it's really not worth it to try to skirt the rules. And everybody in our office is there to try to help you prevent doing that.
There you go. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I have a little known fact for you today.
Okay.
This month is the 50-year anniversary of the passing of ERISA. And that is what allowed the formation of IRAs. And also a little known fact is that most people don't know that when ERISA was passed in 1974, it also allowed for the creation of self-directed IRAs. There was nothing preventing that from happening. And the reason why self-directed IRAs are so little known as opposed to the Fidelities of the world is the traditional broker-dealers and all the banks that had piles of cash advertised the heck out of it and to come in and open an IRA with their bank. And the companies who sprung up to do self-directed IRAs back then just couldn't compete with that. Right. So little by little, we're still chipping away at that market, but 50 years ago today. So,
wow. How many self-directed IRAs do you think are out there compared to, if somebody's got a true self-directed IRA with like next generation, stuff like that, do you guys keep any track of that, or the industry knowledge of how many account holders there are compared to everybody else, or the ratio of dollars in self-directed IRA accounts to traditional accounts?
That's kind of hard to do, but I think the latest numbers were somewhere around $15 trillion in IRAs throughout the country. Mm-hmm. And I would be willing to bet that it's well under 20% in self-directed IRAs. I believe.
Somewhere around two trillion total in a lot of cases there.
I would think.
All right, Jamie. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on the No Close Show. We're going to definitely have you back on a repeat basis to talk about different things. One of the big deadlines people need to keep in mind is you have till April 15th to go towards the previous year's contributions in a lot of cases too, correct?
That's right. Including, though, if you do file an extension, you have up until your extension date to do it also.
Oh, so if somebody delays till October 15th to file, they can still put it in towards. That's something, no, I did not know. Very nice.
And I really hope I'm telling you the truth, because my staff, kills me. I'm not in, but as far as I remember, and my brain is leaving me, you have up until extension time. But what I often tell people to do, Scott, is if you can afford it and you can do it, if you're contributing in 2024 for 2023, why not do 2024's contribution too?
Mm-hmm.
As well do them both at the same time.
Yep.
It gives you a lot more earning power because you have a little bit more money to put to work for you earlier. So
Yep.
if you're able to do it, do it. And the other thing I'll tell you is you can still, even if you make more than that 138,000 as a single person, you can still contribute to a traditional IRA and do a Roth conversion right after that. So you're still able to get it into a Roth. It's gonna be the same as if you paid tax and put it in a Roth, but you're backdooring the contribution, and that's a good thing to do too.
Exactly. And there's all sorts of advantages of tax-free growth versus tax-deferred growth out there. So great
I'm
stuff.
Roth IRA all day long.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Tax-free, tax-free.
Tax-free, baby. Uncle Sam doesn't need any more than what we give him already. So, all right. Well, hey, have a
This
thanks.
is the most fun I've had on a podcast in the 20 years I've been in business. So thank you for that. You're a great host.
Awesome. Hopefully this is not the first one, because that would be a low bar to measure by.
No, not the first one. And hopefully this isn't the last time you and I chat, because this was fun.
No, definitely. We'll be talking about IRAs, investing, and probably a little bit of Pinot Noir knowledge as well.
There you go. Well, we should maybe record this a little later so we can enjoy a glass while we're doing it.
There you go. Next
time, be a lot of fun.
Next time I'll get on to Wine Library and have them ship over a bottle to you, and we'll pop a bottle together at the same time.
One of my favorite stores.
Oh, if people don't know, that's Gary Vaynerchuk's dad's wine library, and how he marketed it was a big knowledge of why we market and started doing videos years ago in a lot of cases. So
Gary is a great guy. I don't know his dad, but I know Gary. He's a great guy.
Great guy. Exactly. Big heart. And just as he is what he is, you see him as he is. He doesn't put on any airs about it, but he is just a great guy with a big heart and trying to help people out there succeed. So kudos. All right, guys. Go out, take some action. If you don't have an IRA, get on that website. We'll put the link in the description there for you, all our contact information to get your next generation trust IRA open. Start putting it to work. That's the only thing that you can control. You can't control the stock market. You can't control social media and insider trading, but you can control what you do with your investments through a self-directed IRA and real estate, note investing, and other allowable transactions. So go out, take some action.